Welcome everybody to another edition of the Tech Woke Podcast. I am your host, Chris, an RMS specialist inside the GovTech space. And in this podcast, we're going to have a great podcast today. We're going to talk about recruiting, HR, founder, everything. And without further ado, we're going to introduce Dino Anagbogu. He is a founder, he's a program manager, he's a technical recruiter, and he's going to talk about a lot of the brands and things he do during the podcast. But without further ado, Dino, how you doing, brother?
Man, Chris, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing very well on this Friday. Very, very well. I'm blessed to be here today.
Yeah, I'm glad for you to come on. I'm glad. Shout out to Shanae Recruiter Cousins for
Yes, sir.
introducing us. Like she's a great person. I know she introduced me to great people. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like she's one of those people that like anytime she makes a connection, it always hits. And that's how you know like a really good recruiter too, because that's really a part of the job of making like two parties connect based off what they know about each other on the perfect side. So you and I have wrapped in the background, and I don't know, we are kind of like the same wavelength too. So I'm looking forward to this today.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we rap like you said. You a Kanye fan, Jay-Z fan. Hey, we got the same podcast. I'm like, man, what's going on, man? I was confused for a second about something. I'm like, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, y'all got an eye, and then y'all straightforward people, so y'all know what it is.
That's great. And it's funny because Sinead doesn't even know any of that stuff about me of like who I like and things of that nature. And it's tough to be certain fans of certain people in these times. So when you can connect with someone who is, oh, it feels good. It feels good.
Nah, it feels good. So Dino, the first thing we're gonna talk about is number one. Tell me about your journey into tech, and tell me how did you get started? How was your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I had a very non-traditional way of getting into tech, and I my original career had always started out in sales from like high school into college, and then right out of college, I only knew about sales, and I genuinely didn't even think I was good enough to do any other sort of field. With the business major, sales was to me like the easiest entry point into just like the corporate space, right? And one of the things that I really enjoyed about sales was being able to listen to what people were looking for and then kind of connecting that back to the product. And within sales, I've gotten a chance to sell like a lot of different things from technical products to cell phones to internet services. And when I finished college, I had this lady, and I'll be honest, she was a white woman who was my recruiter, and she was able to find me my first corporate job and moving me from St. Louis to Atlanta as a 23-year-old, as someone who's never had to make that big jump cross country like that. It was really eye opening of like the delicacy, the care, the responsiveness that she really gave me that she honestly didn't have to give me. And she's still to this day one of the best recruiters I've ever dealt with. But there was something about that I knew that like I wanted to be able to do that and provide that same thing because I know other people aren't getting that kind of level of service. So for me in 2018, man, I had just finished my MBA program, and when it comes to like getting into tech, I feel like you have to really take a lot of risk in a sense and really hustle and grind. And I was in Chicago and I was very established. And what I mean by established, like I had bought my first condo 4 years prior.
Oh, you did.
I was working as well too, full time. So there was a lot of reasons that could have kept me in Chicago. But as soon as I finished my MBA and I was tired of the winter, I had this opportunity to go to Silicon Valley in the Bay in San Francisco. And the risk though was it was a contract. And as you know, a contract isn't guaranteed. There's a chance that you can get out there, you can get cut, and you got to figure it out. And I knew nothing about California coming from Chicago. It was not anywhere that I have gotten a chance to visit. It wasn't on my map. And honestly, I didn't even know where San Francisco or the Bay or Silicon Valley was. Like the only thing I knew about California was LA. And 3 weeks before moving, I found out that I was not going to be living in LA. I got very, very nervous, but at the same time, like I took the huge risk, and I really just bet on myself within that risk. And when I got to San Francisco, it opened up so many doors. And till this day, it's probably been like top three best decisions that I've literally have ever made. So that was how I broke into tech, honestly. And and kind of like Shanae, I don't really like using the words break into tech or try to break
Mhm.
into tech, but that was my first experience in the tech space working at Pinterest. And to be honest, I've really just rode the wave and made some phenomenal and beautiful connections since then. And in the Bay to this day, like I've grown so much from just living there in 2.5, 3 years. And it's also just given me one of the most phenomenal networks that I didn't even know was possible at the time. Yeah.
Man, I can only imagine like you're a black man coming from Chicago,
Yeah.
and you literally take a risk. You had to you had to have some God in it, right? Like trust him.
Um, nah, I had like I
Just
was
take a
at the
risk.
yeah, because at the time, like even trying to figure out where to live, I didn't know where to live. I didn't know what streets were safe. I had someone do like a virtual call with me of this apartment, and
Dang.
and that was before like FaceTime was really a thing like that. So doing a virtual tour at that time was just um so like unnatural and just so different to just even know where I'm gonna live. And you gotta trust the person who is selling you the spot to even think that it's okay, right? But that was just a part of my journey that I was like, man, I need to make a change. And if I want to keep doing the same thing over and over, I would have stayed in Chicago. But I knew I wanted something very, very different for myself. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna ride it out. And I do trust myself though, for sure, when it came to the recruiting space.
Man, that's scary. Yeah, that's a scary situation. And then you're literally in Silicon because I didn't know when I came to California the first time. I'm thinking, okay, I went to the Bay. I'm thinking I'm about to have shorts and it's cold down there, man.
It you know what though? It gets cold and sometimes, but if I'm being real, I'm a person that doesn't like when it's super cold, and I
Mhm.
also don't like when it gets super hot because I start to sweat, especially being bald. Like that sweat comes so fast. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
coming.
And you can't even as bald, you can't even hide it. So like the Bay was the perfect weather to be bald in, I swear. And then like it never in the summer times, it was just like it was cool but sunny. So it was like that hoodie and shorts weather all year round. And then when it got cold, compared to Chicago, it was light. It was nothing. It was nothing to me. Like a little cute jacket, I was cool. I was cool.
No, that's good. So like okay, so you're working in tech and you get your first job as a technical recruiter. Going back to your previous career and things that you were doing, is there anything that you would have changed to get in tech faster, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, honestly, like it's funny. So I started in tech in 2018, but Google had reached out to me in 2016. And the part that held me back was I was getting my MBA. And I couldn't get to Google fast enough because at the time you had to be in Silicon Valley in San Francisco in the Bay. And I
Mhm.
just couldn't get there fast enough because I was still finishing my MBA. And I'm not sure how it is for you, but I had a lot of pressure from like my family to like, get your education. That's going to help you survive. And the education was cool. But then what I realized when I moved to the Bay was like, my education was more of like a talking piece in a sense. It was more of a conversation starter versus a piece of paper that actually mattered. Because even till this day, I've never had to show my MBA diploma to get a job or
No,
I've
I
never
understand. I felt
yeah.
that.
Like I've never had to and even just on the opposite side as being a recruiter, like I've never made a hire because someone had their MBA or their master's or something of that nature, right? It's always been about like doing the core of your work. So when I think about what could I have done much quicker, it's that exposure. Like I think back to back in the cartoon days. I don't know if you ever seen Hey Arnold. There was this
No,
episode
I
called
love Hey Arnold. That's one of my
yeah,
classics. I love Hey Arnold. Hey
yeah.
Arnold was good. Yeah.
There was this episode where it was like Stoop kid never leaves the stoop, right? And to me, that was so powerful because it was like you got to step out of leaving that stoop to go see what else of the world is out there. And for me, I knew Chicago down to a T. Like there was a 8 month period where I just couldn't even get a job in Chicago. So I started Ubering, and that taught me so much about the city, different neighborhoods from the west side to the south side. I'm from the north side. And to be able to experience Chicago and the suburbs and going to all these different places by Ubering just to survive, I had to leave the Stoop to be able to see what else was out there in the
We
world
do.
because I had grasped Chicago. So to me, like when you think about how I could have gotten there faster, it would have been getting that exposure much quicker. Like I should have left in 2016 when I had the chance.
Yeah, you have to like, and this is how I use like when God tells you you need to leave,
Yeah.
leave because it's gonna be a
Yeah.
long, harder
Yeah.
journey. You
Yeah.
know it.
Like that when God gave me the opportunity as a contract, because the contract, they could have ended that contract in a week while I was out there in the first month. And I just spent all this money moving to California and having to figure that out. But it's still a contract. So at any given point in time, they can pull the plug very
Yeah.
quickly. And that was to me, that was God. Like, hey, here's this opportunity that you prayed for and that you asked for. I may not have given it to you exactly how you wanted it in like a full-time opportunity with the benefits and the equity at that time, but I am giving you this opportunity and are you going to take it or not? And I don't say no to God. That's one thing I don't do.
Okay, now you can't. You can't. So tell me like with the role of a recruiter. So you've been a recruiter for a while. You've been in
Yeah.
HR. You've done a lot of things. Like, can you tell me what those roles inquire, especially more on the recruiting side?
Absolutely. So it's funny, like recruiting to me was the easiest form of sales, right? And I
Mhm.
say that because when you think about selling a product, and for me, like I was selling internet services to small businesses. So I'm selling like the internet, I'm selling the cell phones, I'm selling fiber to small to large businesses, and you're selling a product, and you got to make sure that that business can utilize that product. Well, recruiting is very much so sales where you're selling two parts though, and you're selling things that both parties actually want. One, you selling a job, which is like, okay, everybody wants a job, right?
Yeah,
And then
everybody.
on the flip side, you're selling to the business this person, right?
Mhm.
And for me, being able to listen and understanding who people are and their background and their story and what do they do really well, it's my job as a recruiter to sell that back to the business as like, okay, you said you were looking for A, B, and C or X, Y, and Z. Well, this person has X, Y, and Z and LMNOP too on top of that as well. And I discovered that from having these deep conversations with them as well. So for like as a recruiter, it's your job to connect the person to the actual business and really the role of what that business is actually looking for. And there's a lot of other small parts in recruiting as well too that you play a role to of like affecting change or trying to provide data as to like what the market looks like as well too. But to me, that's the core is that connection piece, that middleman between the people and the business.
Now I understand, and from just talking to you, I can tell you that you really good at listening, listening to what people saying and building them up. So as a recruiter, like where are people looking for jobs? Like where do you go to look for people? Are they
Yeah.
Indeed or how do you find
Yeah.
people?
Now, good question. In today's market, it changes over the years, right? Like back in the day, you had Indeed, you had Career Builder, and then in some point in time, like around 2016, 2017, like LinkedIn became like this massive thing, right? Like LinkedIn to me is the the Facebook, the Instagram of the corporate space. And that's where a lot of recruiters started to spend their time. That's where a lot of recruiters started to hone in on like figuring out how to search for people on LinkedIn because that's where the population is. And even till this day, like LinkedIn is probably still the number one place where to find jobs in the corporate space. But there are other places too where recruiters are searching. Like some people are recruiting on like Instagram, depending on the role. Sometimes
Yeah.
people are recruiting on Twitter, or like if you're looking for a portfolio, it might be GitHub or something of that nature. And depending on the organization or like depending on the industry, you still might spend a lot of time in Indeed as well too. Like I know there are a lot of people who recruit on Indeed and apply for jobs on Indeed because that's where their bread and butter is. But it comes in a lot of different forms, and depending on how the size of your company, it may be the ATS system, the applicant tracking system that everyone talks about. Recruiters spend time recruiting on that as well too. Like, you got a lot of candidates in that system too, so it's a good source for folks as well. I think as a recruiter, networking events, that's a phenomenal place to recruit and hire as well. You have to have, like, if you think about basketball, like, you can't just have one move. You got to have a number of moves in the recruiter space to be able to find like the best candidates across the board.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. Like sometimes they reach out to you on Instagram. And I know this is outside of employment. I had a friend that was at an event and he was doing a speaking engagement, and then he ended up getting a sponsor because they just happened to be in the crowd. Like even
Man.
that. So you never know where they at, because I'd be
Yeah, for
confused. I'd be
real.
like, where are you at?
And that's the thing. Sometimes we disguise ourselves, but you get into this conversation and like you got this open role. Like, wait, oh, you do what I'm looking for? Oh, hey, can I get your email real quick? Like, I need to take this down because I'm gonna hit you up on Monday. I promise you. I ain't gonna do it this weekend, but on Monday, let's lock in real quick.
Nah. Okay. So as a recruiter, like how do the jobs come about?
Yeah.
Is there a meeting held where they say we need X amount of roles?
Mhm.
Uh, how does that even work? And that's
Man,
just yeah.
good question. It depends on the company, and every company is sort of different, right? But I think the best way to describe it is there's always like, if you think about if you're starting your own business, right? You get to a certain point where there are things that you can't do on your own. So you have a need for something else, right? And as you figure out what that need is, you kind of got to like, we'll call it like write down, okay, I have this need because I can't do this. Within that need, what else do I need for this person to be able to do within that kind of skill set of the core of what I need, right? And that person is probably like a hiring manager, or it's probably the business or whatever shape or form that looks like, or starting to write down, okay, these are the things that I'm looking for. And this is like a lot of times what they'll say is the unicorn, the perfect person that'll have all of these things that I'm looking for. And then they'll bring it to the HR team, they'll bring it to the talent acquisition team, to the recruiting team and say, like, hey, this is what we're looking for. And can you help us find this? And that's when it's up to the recruiter to really, really listen. And I think that's what separates like okay recruiters from phenomenal recruiters, are the listening aspects of like, okay, what is it that you're actually looking for? And then on top of the listening is asking the follow-up questions. Okay, you said you need this, this, and this, and this. Do they need to have T? Do they need to have O? Or what if I get you a TO in a situation, right? That's half T, half O. How would you feel about that, right? So you have to be able to push back and ask certain questions to figure out exactly what the business is looking for, because sometimes even the business may not even know. So as a recruiter, it's your job to be able to see both sides of the market, but then also really, really get an understanding of what the business is looking for, and making sure that you're asking the right questions. So that way, when you go to market, you can damn near feel like you can do the role, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Like, that's when I know, like, when I walk away from one of those meetings and I'm like, man, I feel like I can do this based off what they just said. That's when I know, like, okay, I'm in the pocket of being able to bring the best candidates to the table, because now when I go back after that meeting, I'm able to say, like, hey, I found you T and O. I found you TO as well too, with an X, Y, and the A and the B. And I know you weren't looking for the N, but I found that as well too. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, that's kind of how that meeting essentially goes when it comes to roles coming out.
No, that's probably the best analogy I've heard. You're kind of like that because I think this is how I think of recruiters sometimes. I never
Mhm.
worked in that field. I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, they just give you somebody because in my field, I work in the government contracting space. So recruiters just spamming, hey, are you? I'm looking for you. I need you to do this. But the way you broke it down, you have to understand the job, break it down, see if you can get this person and that person, mix it. And sometimes you're a consultant to the employer because you're trying to consult
Yeah.
them. This is what can be possible. So that's a good analogy.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever you kind of talked about being spam. You ever got you ever had a recruiter reach out to you and you're like, this is weird. Why did this person reach out to me? Like, did they even look at my background or even
Yeah, I'd
see
be
what I've
confused.
done? And you sitting there like, do I respond? What does this mean? Like, you start asking all these certain questions, right? Like, and that's when I talk about like the type of recruiters that are out there. There are some recruiters that just like they just try to just throw things at the wall and see if it's going to stick. You know what I mean? But in the essence of time, like when you understand what you're looking for, you find that that's more of a waste of time than actually doing yourself a service. And then also, you lose credibility, right? Like if I reach out to you and I'm like, "Yo, Chris, you interested in this guitar role?" You're gonna be like, "Dog, I've never even picked up a guitar." And then you're gonna look at me like, "Yo, he don't even look at backgrounds, or he hasn't even looked at my background to see there's no guitar in my history." So immediately as a recruiter, I've lost credibility, right? And again, that's what separates like the average versus like the exceptionals that are out there.
Yeah, and I agree with you because sometimes I be talking to a recruiter and I'm like, man, this is even the company I need to work for. They don't really
Yeah.
know what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like recruiters too, you know, they usually like one of the first people that you hear from a company too, right? So being a recruiter, you are representing the company first. So if I'm reaching out asking you if you're interested in this guitar role, not only am I losing credibility as a recruiter, you like, what they got going over there at that job? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that
I'm
really
confused.
somewhere? Yeah. Like if they hit you up on a Saturday or a Sunday, you like, I would question, damn, they working on Saturdays, Sundays?
No, that happened to me. Somebody reached out to me on Saturday. I was like, what's going on?
And it happens. Like I get it. I've worked on a Saturday too, and you get those messages off. But sometimes you got to think about what sort of signal am I sending when I do this, you know?
Yeah, because one time it was like right before Christmas and the recruiter hit me up. And I'm like, come on, dude. And then yeah, I'm like, come on,
They
man.
hit you
You
up
gonna
on
please me
Christmas
like that?
Eve.
Yeah, I'm like, now you got me where I'm like, and this kind of segues over. Do you so like when you're recruiting, right? Do y'all get like deadlines or do y'all no, let me reword this better. Do y'all have to reach out to a certain amount of people? Is that why that happens, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that one depends on where you work, right? So when it comes to recruiting and numbers of like reaching out, there's also like this portion of it where it's like a math equation. If I reach out to this many people, then if I reach out to, I'm just going to use it. Think about it like a funnel, right? Like a funnel that's like high at top and then it like slims down, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
reach out to 100 people up top, 75 people are going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk to 50 people because of the time period. And these are very high. Like I'm not talking about 50 people per role, right? But I'm just breaking
Yeah.
down the funnel, right? 50 people. And then I'm going to move out of those 50 people that I talk to, I'm going to move 25 of them to the next round to the hiring manager. And then the hiring manager is going to move 15 of those to the on-site. And of the 15 at the on-site, 5 of those are going to pass the on-site. And then we'll put the last 5 in the last round and we'll make a decision for number 1. Right. So there's a math equation of sometimes, depending on the role, how many people you should reach out to get the hire. Right. That's one of the old school ways that people used to preach, especially in roles where you're hiring the same role over and over and over. Some of the niche roles that are out there that we see a lot today, that math equation always isn't relevant, but there is a certain amount of people that you want to reach out to just because you never know what's going to happen from the top of the process down to the very bottom before you hire somebody.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Hunger Games, man. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going through all these people, but there's only gonna be one winner. But I get it though. Same thing with people, employers, like people that's applying for jobs. Like we just applying to jobs to see who bites. You
Yeah,
know?
for real, for real. And it's the same thing too. Like if you're on the opposite side and you're looking for a job, like if you think that you're gonna apply to one job a day and close your laptop and think that you've done a good job and you think that's gonna get you the job, I'm telling you right now, that's a very, very small number. Like, no, on the flip side, you gotta do the same. I need to apply to 20, not 20, but I need to apply to 7 jobs a day. which will equal 49 jobs a week, right? 7 times 7. And then from there, you break down, okay, out of the 49, I'm probably going to get 20 callbacks. After 20 callbacks, man, 10 of those actually are going to be the net. And it's the exact same thing on the other side. So it's like if you flip it, you kind of understand the recruiting process as well, too.
No, that's a good analogy, man. Like, even with me, when I be talking to certain people, even myself, when I was looking for a job, I used to think like that too. Maybe if hey, 5 a day, 5 a day for 5 days, or do 10 a day, somebody gonna reach back out. Maybe out of
Man,
that, yeah, I'll get somebody.
what did Kanye say? He said, "Well, I did beats for 20 20 days for five. I did 5 beats a day for a whole something crazy like that. It's the same
Some.
thing, yeah."
Nah, but the thing about Kanye, I'm sorry to go back to Kanye. The same thing with Kanye. That man went to every studio and everybody turned him down. It took one person, but he made it. Yeah.
And also, when you think about Kanye, like how many beats did he have sitting in the pocket, right? Where he had all these beats where it's like, you need a beat? Come here. What kind of beat you need? Let me listen to what you're talking. Ah, here you go. Here's a sample on top of that beat as well, too. Here's an Aretha Franklin sample for your mother, because I know she loves her as well, because I got that in the back. It's the exact same thing. You can't just rely on doing it once. You got to do it multiple times as well, too, not only for the practice, but also too just to be able to have the numbers. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to segue into another thing since we're talking about this. It's like, so with recruiters now, I've noticed one thing, like, we have a different generation of recruiters. A lot of the times they're ghosting people. A lot of the
Mhm.
times it's kind of really unprofessional. And a lot of the times you have a meeting, sometimes they're not there. Like, what's your thoughts on that also? And I know you ain't in that. You're not in that at all, but I just want to
Yeah.
know what your thoughts
It's so it's a twofold, right? You sometimes have recruiters who like are just not the best when it comes to time management. And
are. Hmm.
sometimes for them, they're selfishly looking to just fill the role. And that's their perspective on recruiting. Like, okay, if you're not a fit, I'm moving on from you. I'm probably not even going to reply back to you because A, I don't have the time. Two, I don't see the point.
I
And
got
three, I got to get this job filled or else I'm going to lose my job. Right. Because at
you.
the end of the day, they got to fill the role. They're not always, not all recruiters are always graded on like the customer success portion
Mhm.
of like how well they fill the role, right? It's more so like getting to the end goal in a sense, like in
Mhm.
sales, right? Um, on the flip side, when I think about recruiters' bandwidth, and when I say bandwidth, you a recruiter in this day and age, like they probably have between 5 to 10 to 12. I know recruiters who got like a plate of 16 roles open
Oh, dang,
at this.
16.
I'm talking about in my highest peak, I had 19 roles at the same time open. So
Ooh.
that means that within 19 roles that I had open, when I thought about, and the worst stage is like the recruiter screen stage, because that's when you gotta just really, you're on the phones all the time. You're talking to different candidates over and over and over to vet them out, right? So if for one role I'm doing maybe 8 to 12 screens for that role, recruiter screens, 8 to 12 times 10 roles, let's say that's 80 people that I have to be able to manage. 2 or 3 people or 6 or 7 may not hear back from me, right? You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is the case, it's just a
It's a
realistic
tool.
human
Yeah.
thing. Like it's sometimes it's almost impossible to get back to every single person. And then also there are situations where like recruiters just don't have all the answers, right? Like someone may be looking for feedback on something specific and maybe they don't have the answer, or maybe even the role is just not open anymore, right?
Mhm.
And there are new recruiters out there too where they haven't been taught how to handle different scenarios of like, okay, we close this role. How do I call this candidate who has been praying and talking to their family and very excited about this role? How do I break their heart? I've never been taught how to do that before. I'm not saying me, but I don't know how to pick up the phone and make that difficult call. Like a lot of times, like I've been on calls where I've had to tell someone, "Hey, unfortunately, you didn't get this role." And
Dang.
I hear them break down in the background, right? Or before that call, and I'm prepping them. they're telling me about all the things that they're about to do once they get this job, and then I gotta call them and tell them. And unfortunately, we had to go with we went in a different direction, right? Those aren't easy calls to make. Like, people don't even want to break up with people when they're in a relationship. Imagine you adding money on top of it, you adding benefits, and imagine you being the sole provider. Those aren't easy calls just to make. And yes, should we be as recruiters responding to everybody and at least giving them the update? Yeah, we should. But when we also add that human factor into it too, for some folks, man, that's a hard call to make sometimes. You know what I mean? And it for some people, it might just be easier to just not say anything. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I agree with it, but I will say, shit, I get it. I definitely understand it.
Man, actually, that's the best breakdown I've heard, man. Like, I talked to so many people, and that was the most. Yeah, I could tip your hat off to that one because I didn't think about it in that perspective. Like, sometimes you just don't want to tell them.
Nah, like imagine you get some news about a friend and it's horrible news, man, and now you gotta go tell them about it, and it's like you sitting there for hours, like, damn, man, I don't even know how I gotta break this news to them. Well, that friend ain't got nothing to do with the money. You know what I'm saying? That ain't got nothing to do with no benefits. That's not no career trajectory. Man, that person don't even got to pay bills with the news that you're about to tell them. But when you add on that recruiting, oh man, it hurts. Like, there are days where, like, man, so for me, like, I grew up in the environment of, like, you always make the tough calls, and I was taught how to make those tough calls and be able to handle that. That's why I'm big in therapy as well too, because it allowed me to have tough conversations. But there are days where, like, certain Thursdays or Fridays, I spend my whole day just calling people and telling people that they didn't get the job. Nothing else. That's it. Like, just call after call. Hey, boom, boom, boom. Like, and that's your whole day. Like, you think about 19 different roles and you got 8 to 12 people that's all day, just for 2 days, like every 15 minutes, picking up the phone. Okay, let me get a 30-minute break to go get a snack and get something to eat. That was a lot. Then get right back to it. Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, whoever. Yeah, unfortunately. What? And then they start, don't let them get to snapping at you. You know what I'm saying?
No, that happens. They snap at you too.
Yeah, all that. So it's like you those days are like, you walk away from those days as like very heavy, very mentally drained as well too. And there are some people who don't want to go through those days. And again, I'm not saying that's right, but I can definitely be like, shit, I get it. Those tough days before you want to go into a weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you just hit. I ain't gonna lie, that job, that one hit. It just hit me. Like, even for me, sometimes I can't even. I'm learning to have tough conversations, like in business, and it's like it's hard for me. Sometimes I sit on stuff for like weeks.
A week, yeah, because you don't want to think about it. Like, that's a tough conversation that got to come up that I got to present. It's like
that's something we all got to work on.
Yeah, for real.
So let me ask you, like, so with recruiters, like, are y'all assigned like different regions or different demographics? I know some people are focused on minorities, or some are focused on different aspects or different regions. How's recruiting done?
It just depends on the role. Like, there's some roles that may have like, we really want to build out our workforce. We want to build our employees in this area. Maybe we just put a brand new office in Oklahoma. Man, we got to get people in the Oklahoma office. Like, can we hire around the country? Absolutely. But for these next 3 months, we're going to start making phone calls to everybody in Oklahoma and try to get the folks in Oklahoma that job to really build out that office, right? Or there are recruiters too that also specialize in certain things. Like, for example, there are recruiters who let me think of an example. Oh, like Spanish speaking. Right. So, yeah, you may not get the luxury to go fly to Colombia to go hire everybody out in Colombia. But what they may do is say, like, hey, we need someone who's Spanish speaking who can recruit out in Colombia for us and be able to take those calls. Or for me, there are times where I've worked on international roles in different time zones. So, like, I'm hiring out in Dublin or I'm hiring out in London.
Really?
Yeah, which means that you got to like get up 7 hours in advance. So, like, if I'm working on roles in the UK, that means I'm taking calls probably at like 7, 8 in the morning because that's their afternoon. Or if I'm doing calls in Australia and I'm trying to hire someone in Australia, that means I got to take calls at 6, 7 at night because that's 8, 9 in the morning for them. You know what I'm saying? So depending on just the business of where things are, it just kind of allocates properly. I mean, there was a time period where like I just wasn't a morning person and I was terrified to be responsible to be doing business before 8 in the morning. And my peers were raising their hands to do it because they were morning people and they were taking those calls, and the folks who were in like Dublin or in the UK and things of that nature. And it just really depends on the role and what people are kind of looking for as well too.
So like as a recruiter, like you've been a recruiter for a minute and you've done many different things, but how's the role changed you as a person? Was you always the person you are today, or did it kind of change you to a different person?
I, ooh, that's a fire one. I've always been myself at my core. And I've always been myself in my core, and I always have led with that. I don't change as like a person, and my belief says like it's very easy for me to say like what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. It's black and white to me. You know what I'm saying? You get a lot of gray areas every now and then, but when you
Mhm.
really, really peel back the onion, like there's gonna be a right and there's gonna be a wrong in a sense. And that's just how I've always moved because it allows me to sleep very easily at night. Recruiting though has opened up my eyes to the perspective of there's always three sides to a story, right?
Mhm.
So there is what that person sees, there's what that person sees, and there's a person who is like just a fly in the room and sees what both people see, and it's like, oh, okay, oh, all right, I can understand that as well. And then I would say what recruiting has done for me is like it's really broke down the barriers for me to have like those tough conversations. So just even outside of work, right? Being able to have tough conversations with people that like even black men like us, um, like I know we're afraid to have certain conversations, but we
Yeah.
mask it with masculinity in a sense, right? So we'll be tough and make it look tough, but we're really more insecure about something deep down in our core that inner childly we just haven't really addressed yet. And being in recruiting, because I've always had to have tough conversations, I've had to spend weeks where my Thursdays and Fridays were telling people bad news before the weekend, or maybe I've adjusted to doing it on Monday and Tuesday to kick off. There's no good time to give someone bad news, right? Like having those tough conversations for me is something that it's opened up my ability to do so, but that also hinders me because not everybody is there yet. And I sometimes have to meet people where they're at when it comes to giving great news or even just very, very difficult news as well, too. But
Yeah, no, that's one thing we all have to work with in this space, because a lot of people, even in tech, they like, okay, you can make this, you can make that, but they never tell you about the denials. They never tell you
yeah,
about, what can go on in the office. But you gotta have these tough conversations, because if you keep running from it, it's gonna get you at one point.
yeah, I'll give you another one, a different example of a tough conversation, right? Um, like I learned a lot about money through tough conversations and like my own value. So there was a point in my career where like I was making decent amount of money from what my perspective was in my own world, right? Stoop kid never leaves a stoop, right? So on my stoop, I'm like, oh, I'm decent with the amount of money I'm making and stuff. And I'm sitting in the room with me and a few of my guys, and we're just rapping about just all sorts of stuff, right? And I just was like, man, I wonder how much my homies are making, you know? And it was one of those conversations too, where like these are my guys who are still my guys till this day. But at that time, it was like a brand new relationship that we had were building in a sense.
Mhm.
And there's this competitiveness where it's like, hey, I know he's fired at his job. I know he's fired at his job, but I know I'm cold too. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I need to check the temperature of like how cold am I really at my job, right? So I just put it out. Hey man, respectfully, hey, Hey, what was y'all offer when y'all took these roles?
Yeah, you
Hey,
gotta.
I'm gonna stay break you off, man. We all in the same place. It's no, hey, I promise you, it won't leave this room. It's no hate, but I just want to understand where I'm at versus where y'all at, and then it opened up the conversation of like, damn, this how they talking to you, and you know what I'm saying. And man, in that conversation, as cold as I was $23,000 lower than the other two guys in the room, and I'm like, hold on, the hooping gap is not that large of a difference in separation. Like we're all neck and neck and neck. But it also opened up my eyes to leaving the stoop of like, oh, wait, so as cold as I am, wait, how did you have that conversation to get to where you got that extra 20, right? Because that's what, like maybe an extra 600 a check, you know what I'm saying? If I break that down of what 20K is a year, like that's like an extra 6 or 7 or something like that. I could do something with that. But how did you get that? And oh snap. So then now it opened up my eyes to like understanding compensation conversations. But here I am as a recruiter, and that's all I do. Whereas like I'm always giving out offers and breaking down compensation, but I never knew how to even have that conversation for myself. But once I had that tough conversation, oh man, I'm talking about that all the time now. You know what I mean? So
No, I understand. Like even my girl, my girl, she loves having tough conversations.
yeah.
And, yeah.
Most women do that.
But the thing I will say about her is like you gotta have even it's about money. There was one time, man, I was spending like $500 a week. So that's another thing. You just gotta have these conversations. I was spending like
Yeah.
$500 a week, and the minute I stopped eating out, I say, man, I was balling. I was like,
Right.
oh, I got money left over. I go to the gas station, I got money left. I'm like, oh, that's what my money was going to. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for real, for
Yeah.
real. Man, I remember being at the same stage when back when in dating, like I got a financial advisor because like money is something that I still struggle with, and I'm trying to work through. Of like we don't get taught of how to deal with money in that sort of sense, especially being black in our community, right? So we're so far behind. So for me, I resourced out to figure out, okay, how do I handle these? And one time I was talking to him, and I was like, yeah, I know I make decent money, but I'm still living like I don't make decent money. And I'm trying to understand that. And he was just like, take a glass of wine, go through your accounts in detail one night, and you do it by yourself. Don't do it by your girl or anything of that nature. And I did the homework. I did what he said because you got to do the work. You can't just like ask for advice and not do the work. So I went home, grabbed a bottle of wine, some cheap wine or whatever, looked through my accounts, and I'm like, oh damn, these restaurants are hitting me over the head in Atlanta. Like, good lord, like damn, I'm doing this 3, 4 times a week. I came back to him and told him about it. He was like, well, I knew that because you had already told me what you were doing, but you had to see it for yourself in a sense. And it just opened up my eyes of like, yo, that's not even really normal. Like, that's not even a normal thing to really just always be spending that amount of money just based off of how much I make. That's not normal. You know what I mean? Like, and that tough conversation, I had to then take that, bring it back to the girl I was dating, like, yo, respectfully, like, I can't do that no more. You know,
Yeah.
like it was a tough conversation. It was tough as hell, but shit, it had to be had.
Now, I'm learning a lot from you, man. Like, man, this is a good conversation. But since we're talking about money, what's the most that you ever seen somebody get paid from a job?
Ooh. Uh I got two, but I have to do the math to see which one was more. I remember for a contract role, I gave someone 237 an hour.
Two, 237 an hour? What they do?
237,
Yo,
237 an hour, and
I
that
gotta
was
get an hour. I
full.
need to get my money up.
Yeah.
237 an hour?
237 an hour. Hold on, let me see what that is. I never even calculated this from a yearly standpoint, what that would be. Hold on, 237 times 20. Damn, that's 494. Base. That's decent in base. Actually, then it would have that's fire, a really fire base, but no equity. But I would say equity included, probably 1.4. 1.4.
1.4 what million?
Yeah. hmm hmm he was like 23, 24 too.
Man,
and,
I
and he
didn't know
turned,
that was possible.
man, I didn't either. And he turned me down. I've only had a few
Did he
turn
turn you
downs.
down?
Yeah. He turned me
Oh,
down. Man, it was such a humbling experience. I'll never forget. I was at home with my dad. He was a data engineer. This is when data engineering had like really first started popping off, and it was a role that I was working on for about 8 months. And then we're finally making this offer. We're going back to negotiations, and I'm giving him like, hey, this is the max I got for you. And I did it at my dad's house, and I purposely kind of did it at my dad's house out in the open because I wanted my dad to hear, because my dad is in engineering in a sense.
mhm.
And my dad foreign as hell, fresh off the boat. Like I'm giving them the numbers, like, you getting this amount, your total number is 1 point whatever. And I hung up the phone. My dad was like, hey, are you going to be fired after this? Did they allow you to do that? I'm like, yo, I got full clearance before I read these numbers off. And he was just like, the boy was not even happy. He didn't even I was like, hey, you and me are both surprised right now. And then that following Monday, he called me back and was like, yeah, nah, I got a better offer. I'm like, hey, salute to you, man. For real.
Man, there's some different breeds. That humbled me. I'm thinking I'm doing something.
And-
That just humbled me.
yeah. And like that's one thing too about that I learned about recruiting is you can't be afraid of talking about money because, for example, I had to go into that conversation in a way, like, you have to go into that conversation very confident to lay out those numbers. You know what I mean? And if I go into that conversation not being confident about the numbers I'm giving, or like it's a shock to the candidates, like, oh, okay, like that's a lot of money that they're giving me. Do they have more money behind the table? Do they have
Yeah.
less? So I kind of have to be very like bland about it, as like numbers are just numbers to me at that point when I'm in recruiting. But even now, like when I think about money, like when I have friends who will ask me about negotiation strategies, like, you ask me 3 days later, I can't tell you how much that person was even helped, because I deal with numbers so much in that regard. And you have to have that ability in recruiting to not be afraid to, like, the person that I'm paying 16 an hour, I got to have that same sort of energy as the person that I'm giving 237 an hour. That same sort of excitement, that same sort of energy, that same sort of, here's what else you're going to get on top of that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't discriminate the pay differences.
No, I agree. Like one time when I was I was first starting off and I was at 75. And then I just asked for six figures. They gave it to me actually, but they was
Quick.
talking trash. They was like, oh yeah, some years ago you only asked for like $5,000 more. I said that's yesterday's price. I want this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They gave it to me. But can
Yeah.
you describe like what gets you to get that type of money or get six figures or get what you need, especially when you said a guy's $1.4 million. Like,
Mhm.
how do you create that need and how do you negotiate?
Well, it always shifts, right? Like with the market. So, for example, is like the two jobs that I mentioned are two very different jobs. Like one was a data engineer, was like the 1.4, and then the 237, that was what was called an agile coach. And an agile coach is someone who like they help companies change their way of thinking and going from being a very slow company to make change to being very progressive or very fast to make change, right?
Mhm.
And at the time, agile coaches back in the day, like that was a new hot thing, right? It was almost like what people thought of tech, but it never got that big that everybody knew about it. But companies were paying an arm and a leg for folks who had this experience. And that's really what it comes down to, is understanding, well, the market will tell you what is hot, right? And what is that new thing? Because those two same jobs today, like they may not be that same price now. It's probably even lower in a sense. So when you're looking to get that increase, well, one, what is your impact? Two, what does the business need as well for that specific role? It's generally no difference as being like back in the 50s if you were like the most fire car salesman out there, right? Like they
Yeah.
gonna probably pay you to sell. Like if I had a car dealership, like I want the best car salesman, so I'm gonna pay whatever I can because I know that they gonna bring me revenue in a sense, right? Like now the big thing is AI, so that's the hot topic, and the folks who are have been spending time in AI, who have been independently building or have really advanced, and the folks who have built products, like that's a new wave, right? We don't know what it's going to look like in the next 8 to 10 years, but when you understand like what it is that you do really well, and if that aligns with where the market is, then that's your best bet to really sell yourself as a person as a whole. And that could be, and that's across anything. Like that's not even just in tech. Like you can be the best librarian, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, how do you create the, like, how do I make sure like people, well, what is the best librarian to have that the other librarians don't have? And that's the point that you kind of sell upon, and you say your price confidently and you just stick to that as well.
Yeah, and if they don't want to pay, basically they don't believe in yourself. That's kind of what
Yeah.
it is,
Or
man.
and then too, like you also want to have conversations to understand like how much is the market paying for something. You know what I'm saying? So if the market isn't paying 500,000 for a librarian, like as a librarian, you probably shouldn't be saying 500,000. You should probably have conversations with some of the best librarians and see how much are they getting paid, because that dictates it for real. The market always dictates everything, whether you selling a house, you selling a car, like you trying to get a job. It's the market that dictates it, not one individual person. So you have to do your research and understand like what those are to be able to price yourself out, because you don't ever want to price yourself too low, and you don't want to price yourself out of the market as well too.
Yeah, and I understand. So, and I just to follow up on that, like, okay, do resumes and everything matter now,
Yeah.
or is it kind of like from your perspective, is it more about personal brand? Because I know you're a recruiter, you want somebody ASAP.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you are
Yeah.
you are y'all really still looking at applications?
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Everything is on the table still. Like resumes are definitely important. Networking is important. I always believe like the core of your work and what you do is the most important. Like if I'm looking to hire somebody, like I'm gonna line up everybody and who can do this job the best, and how can they describe that they do this job the best. Well, at the start, it has to do with the resume because that's just the beginning of the process. But when you start interviewing and you're telling people about the work that you've done, the impact that you've done, your smile and stuff is only going to take you so far.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
the work that you've done and what the work that you've done and the examples that you can share about the work and the success stories, the numbers, how much revenue did you drive? How much money did you save the company, right? What was the percent of efficiency that you just saved in creating this process? What processes did you create? What sort of things did you put together to drive retention so that people aren't quitting, right? Like what building products did you just build? What does your portfolio look like that is just so far eye appealing that we can't pass up on you because it just matches with our business as well too, right? So all of those things are important as a whole, and each part is just a part of the process from the resume to the interviewing as well too, but everything is completely still on the table, and you need each part of that process too.
Man, this is a lot of game, man. Like seriously, man.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go to this last topic before we come to it, we get into an end. But I can go on forever. But
Yeah.
this is good. But so like even for myself, like I know my job very, very, very well,
Yep.
right? And throughout this conversation, you're a very good communicator and you know how to break things down. For somebody that's looking for to get a job and they know the job, but I noticed that with my friends that know how to speak and talk, properly, they might not know the best. They're able to get a job. What are some ways that does communication play a role with getting a role, and also too, or what are some ways people can improve on it if that is?
Yeah, for sure. I think the one of the most powerful ways is storytelling, and taking somebody through an experience. For example, if someone's like, tell me about a time where you did something right. You want to be able to take somebody through a story from A to Z in a way that they can follow along, feel what you're saying, but then also be like, damn, that was the results that they did from that story. Like, damn, okay, I see it, right? Like you can almost Picasso out that this Picasso the picture of what this person actually did. And communication is key in that sort of aspect. Like so many people focus solely on just their resume and making sure that they have the right keywords, which is right as you should be doing. But then okay, once the recruiter calls you, how are you setting yourself up to communicate exactly like what backs up the resume? Because the resume is just like the written portion. So now you got to be able to speak to it. And your
Mhm.
speaking is going to be much larger than your resume. So when a recruiter asks you about a specific bullet point or detail, can you walk them through from start to finish what that meant? What was the impact of what you did? And not only the impact, you got to be able to relate it to the company that you're talking to, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're doing like I'm a freestyle this, right? Like let's say say you a nurse, right? And you're applying to a tech job in finance. When you're explaining your job as a nurse to the tech job in finance, what is the correlation there? Is there one? And if
Mhm.
there's not, then you're probably applying to the wrong type of tech job. You might want to think about applying to the healthcare tech job because
Okay.
when you lay your story out as a nurse, they gonna understand. The finance tech company may not understand, or the manufacturing tech company, I'd rather use that as an example, won't understand how you as a nurse will be impactful to what that role is. But if you a nurse, why wouldn't you apply to a healthcare company so that when you tell that story, they're definitely going to be able to relate? And that's a part of like the storytelling piece of it. It's not about just having your resume, it's being able to take people along in the journey, just like any good movie. Like you want to be able to feel like you a part of that movie. You want to feel it almost like when you tell the story, like damn, like I told a story, that person cried. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was an interview where like the lady cried on the phone, like on the call. Like, I saw the tears. I'm like, yes, I got that shit. I know I got this job. You know what I'm saying? And not because I made her cry, but because I knew she felt what I was saying and she knew that I was gonna deliver that same impact. And it was so relatable to the core work of what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? And that communication piece of being able to talk about that is what really like will get you there in a sense. And your communication to practice that, man, I'll give you like a direct nugget of something you can do, right? If you got an interview coming up and let's say the recruiter gives you the questions that are going to probably be asked, or you may not. Like we have chat GPT now, we have AI products, put the role in, tell chat, hey, give me some questions that might be asked. Take a notebook and write down all the stories of accomplishments that you've done. Then go in and for each story, write down exactly how you want to tell that story. The best way to do that is called the STAR method. And if you're not familiar, the STAR method gives you a way to tell a story in a good order that keeps people following along and allows you to not get off track. And it's called the STAR method because of each symbol, right? S stands for situation, T stands for task, A stands for actions, and R stands for results. When you tell the situation, task, actions, and results, that's what people want to hear. That is the story from start to finish. Man, you better star out every story that you do. And I promise you, I have a book sitting in the back. I got 20 stories with the star method, each one written down right there so that when they ask me a question, I can hit them so quickly with each of the things that I've done in a very concise way that's not just going offhand, or now I'm rambling, or I've lost sort of what that question was initially. But you got to practice as well too. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I know that story." Well, now you got to practice, keep saying that story, and you might have to readjust how you say that story depending on who's listening or what that person does as well too.
Yeah, because like throughout this whole conversation, you probably was using star method, man. Because you've been going in and going in. I'm like, man, I relate. I'm starting to
Yeah,
feel for you. When you said you got when you when you got to the Bay, I'm like, oh, coming from Chicago, I felt that, man.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, man, that's powerful, and that's
yeah.
that's a nugget I'm gonna take for myself, just so people can understand where I came from, where I'm going. So that's a great nugget, and that can make you a better communicator.
It does, and like that's something that I learned. I had the privilege, like not even like I look at it to me like as a black person in college, like I had the privilege of someone, a black male, coming up to me and telling me about the star method and how to utilize it, not only in interviews, but when I'm going to go networking conferences. Like that was a privilege to me to kind of learn that. You know what I mean? And for us, I'm recruiting so much. I'll listen to the feedback and I'm like, when I hear things like, yeah, they were just rambling, or yeah, they couldn't keep their story intact, or they didn't really tell me about what they'd done in the past. They kind of just told me what I wanted to hear. And it's like, they probably didn't tell a good story about or answer the question with the story, you know?
Yeah, make sure y'all take that nugget, everybody. Dino, we're getting towards the end. Tell the audience where they can find you.
Yep.
Tell them about all the businesses, all the things that you're doing, and just let the audience know everything that you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I got two businesses that I got going on. The first one, I feel like you should always make sure you look good and feel good, because that really does play a huge difference into your confidence and how you show up. And that's something that like I'm not how do I say, like I don't brag upon that, but I take care of myself, and I like to do the best that I can without having to pay a lot of money. So my two brands that I got, the first one is Taper Talk, which is all about grooming for black men, how you keep your beard tight. If you got a baldy, how to shave it down, keep it clean as well too, without getting hit by going to the barbers every single week, because it's taxing these days. It's becoming more and more expensive. So Taper Talk is my form of just how to groom yourself and keep yourself together. That's when I always give my honest tips of how I take care of myself on there. And then the second one is People Don't Forget. People Don't Forget is the organization that I started of like professionalism for young black men, right? You want to walk into rooms, and sometimes you may be the only one that looks like yourself, but how do you walk into those rooms and people remember who you are, so that way when you leave and something comes up, oh, I remember that person, right? You want to make sure that people don't forget. And it came from a dope movie from Superbad in the series. Like, people don't forget. But to me, it really hits home of like you walk into situations and making sure that people don't forget who you are. So you can always hit me up on Instagram at Sir Nonso, and I can always give you more information on how to get to each and every one of those. Of course, you can follow me on Taper Talk on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok as well too.
Yeah, make sure you check out Dino. You know, as you can see, he's well groomed. You know, got the skin. He looking like he on a movie. He look great though. He look great. I like the fit. So make sure you check him out, man. He look like he knows what he's doing. The skin glowing. So
Thank you.
make sure you check him out, man.
Thank you. I'm 3 weeks away. I'm 3 weeks from the barbershop, so it's me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You said 3. I just beeping.
Man, I gotta be honest. I went 3 weeks ago, so you just gotta put that number in there. Like it's been a minute, so yeah, I try to do my best. It's taxing out there. These barbers, and I respect the hustle, but damn,
I pay 50.
75 for just a beard. Oh yeah, man. So.
Hey Dino, so what is one thing you want to leave the audience with? It can be a quote, a statement, anything.
Man, don't be afraid to take that risk, man. For real, the stoop kid doesn't lead the stoop, and don't be the stoop kid. Take the risk, like, and also stop putting things in front of you that enables you to always say no to things. You know, like a part of taking a risk is saying yes to things that you normally wouldn't say yes to. That's where the risk is. Instead of saying, "Oh, I can't do this. Oh, this is in the way," or "This is this is stopping me from doing this." Cool. All the excuses are out there and they're in front of you. Okay, figure it out. How can I still do it with all these roadblocks that are in front of me? How can I still maneuver and get around with everything that's in front of me to still make it happen? Take the risk. And I promise it may not be the first risk, may not be the second or the third, but man, when you take that one and it hits, man, all the other ones are going to be worth it. So take that risk for real, because that's really what's going to separate you from everybody else that's around you for real.
Hey, take that risk. You never know what again. Because even with myself, like I've been not taking opportunities because I have self doubt. But the people are asking me to do it for a reason. So
Yeah,
I'm, you gotta take those
yeah.
opportunities.
Absolutely, absolutely. People see you as something, and like when people keep coming up to you, like you gotta recognize that's God, man, putting opportunities in front of you. And the more you saying no to God, man. You saying no to God. Like if there's an opportunity, man, I'm gonna say yes and try to figure it out. You know, because that's the opportunity from God. So like gotta take that risk for real.
Yeah, man, Dino, this is a great podcast. It's probably one of my top five right now.
Hey, that's love. That's love.
Not
That's love.
seriously,
Same,
like
same, man.
seriously, I learned a lot. Yeah,
And thank you for doing this as well too. Like we need more people like you to ask the right questions, and you ask beautiful questions that I think people are afraid to ask, but people have been just wondering. And I think the more that you keep blessing us with the energy and these questions and the people that you meet with, man, like it's gonna connect with somebody every single time, not just once, but I believe it's gonna be more than once for real.
yeah,
And we need way more people like you versus like I just said we need way more people like you versus the rap people who are in tech. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know.
So keep thriving, brother. Yeah,
Nah,
keep thriving on this for real.
nah, thank you. So thank you. I really appreciate you, and I'm going to keep doing this podcast as long as God wants me to do it. God leading me to do it. Because sometimes I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I'll be like, well, do I need to keep it going? I ain't
Yeah.
about to stop, man.
Nah, you
I'm sitting
shouldn't. You
there.
shouldn't. You shouldn't, man. Put a goal on there. Keep going, brother. Keep going.
Nah, thank you. So to close everything out, thank you everybody. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. So put a comment down below to make sure people know what's going on, or if you have a different opinion, share the video. And then also too, if you're in the GovTech space and you want to learn about getting into cybersecurity and risk management, check out RMF Academy. Check it out. Join the newsletter. It'll help you get where you need to go in the GovTech space. So remember, everybody, get 1% better every day. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Appreciate it.